Welcome back to the channel, and this topic has been booming all over social media. Not social media, but like YouTube, Twitter, stuff like that. These articles coming out everywhere, left and right, and a lot of them say it's Phil that was like in talks to like buy Sony out of business. The headline is so wild because it's not the case. It seems like it was the case, but it's not the case because we gotta flash back to when all this was happening. 2018, 2019. Game Pass turning like 3 years old. Xbox was getting their ass beat in the console war. This is the time when all this is coming out. But Game Pass is the only thing succeeding from Microsoft at the time. I mean, Mixer was still doing pretty well, but then they shut that down legit like later. They literally got rid of Mixer as. But like this is the time. Microsoft is literally trying to do everything in gaming they possibly can because they getting their ass beat in a console war space. We know this. We know that Microsoft was trying to buy things, especially back then, but we didn't know who was doing it. Who was like, we didn't know the who to the what they were doing. Now we do. Emails came out, and people. There's a lot of people on there. I've seen like a couple videos. They said like Phil was the one buying all this shit up, and it's like, I mean, that's not the fucking case. It became the case, but when the buying up shit started, it was between Matt Booty and the chief financial officer of Microsoft giving Matt Booty like a budget to go buy studios because Matt was like, Game Pass is up. I think Game Pass was turning like 3 years old. And they were up on all the competition. Nobody else was trying to do what Microsoft was doing. Why? Because cloud gaming wasn't going anywhere at the time. It was only Google and fucking Amazon. Luna was not nowhere near ready. They weren't even close to being ready. They still not ready to this day, bro. And Luna's been trying to get built a long time. They're getting more deals, they're getting more content, but like Luna is so far behind. I don't know how they're going to compete. GeForce Now was doing their thing at like on PC, but they weren't trying to expand anywhere else. And then there was Google, which Google had the hardware for it, but the software wasn't on their side. They didn't have first party studios. So Matt went to the CFO and they having like communications and they're like, all right, we're gonna have to bolster this because they can't go back on the Game Pass model, the day and day stuff. They didn't have enough studios to create content on a steady basis, which are still trying to get to that now. But the vision was there all the way back in 2018, 2019. So when that E3 came around and they bought all those studios, Double Fine was on there, Obsidian was on there. Damn, there were so many fucking studios that came up on that fucking screen, bro. Like the Hellblade studio was on there. There was somebody else. They started buying all these studios. That was Matt Booty's thing because he had to go get studios that can make content for Game Pass, which we know this already. That's why they bought all those studios. So fast forward another year and a half, that is when Bethesda got bought and ZeniMax Media, the whole thing happened, and that was Phil. But after that happened, we know why Phil did that, because he didn't want to lose 3 exclusive games to Sony. Xbox would have been cooked right at the beginning of the generation. He's like, yeah, we can't go out like that because we're already losing. We got Game Pass. We got to do this shit. Matt was already in. He's like, fuck it, we buying studios, we're gonna make content. Phil was like, we need to get people to not skip Xbox. So we got to keep people from skipping Xbox. That's when the ZeniMax Media deal happened. But they also wanted to get into mobile gaming. But the Zynga deal got off the table because Zynga wasn't big enough to start. So they're like, fuck, who do we go to? Activision Blizzard. That's where we are now. But back to the beginning of all this. Matt was buying all these studios up. Phil bought fucking ZeniMax Media because he didn't want to lose Starfield and more games to fucking Sony. But all the other acquisition talk, the Bungie talks, we all knew about that. I made a video about it like a year ago, 2 years ago. I forget, because Sony ended up acquiring them. But Bungie came out and said they were in talks with Microsoft first. They went to Microsoft after they left Activision. They needed a place to go. They went to Microsoft. Why? Because Microsoft got all the money. But Microsoft wanted too much from Bungie, so Bungie said no. Because Microsoft offered them all the money and security that they got. But Microsoft wanted everything Bungie owned. They wanted all their IP. They wanted all their developers. They wanted ownership of everything Bungie had. So if Bungie and them left again, Bungie would leave empty-handed once again. They didn't want to go through that again. They already been with Microsoft one time. So they end up signing with Sony because they got full autonomy. Sony paid for all their developers to stay. And Bungie got to keep every IP they own. They don't have to do much for Sony besides be a support studio for Sony studios. And that was the best deal Bungie could have possibly got in gaming. It is lovely. We still don't know what the fuck Sony gets out of this deal. Because Bungie got the best deal in possible gaming for anybody trying to be a game developer and try to remain like themselves. So we know Bungie was off the table. The Sega thing, we knew what deal Microsoft made with Sega with cloud gaming and stuff like that, but we never knew they were trying to make Sega a first party studio. That's one thing we did know. So when they added that in, that was wild. That was wild. And that was Phil. Because I mean he's already buying publishers. Why not go for Sega? Because Sega and Microsoft has a great deal. They already got a deal for cloud gaming. And now Sega's literally helping Game Pass bolster it with content all now, and they're not even first party. So I mean, the deals we don't know the specifics of, but we knew what ended up happening with the Sega deal because Sega and Microsoft has a deal with cloud gaming and stuff like that. The other ones, like the Hello Games one and all like the minor ones, those came from like an email from like Phil and all that. Because after they start buying studios, they got first party content. They're like, we're gonna need more. We're gonna need more because the only people that can compete with them in cloud gaming and subscription based gaming anyway was going to be Sony. If Sony took the bait and Sony started to care about subscription based gaming, but Sony ended up not fucking caring. So Microsoft put all this work in because they thinking like, hey, this is the next big thing. Everybody's going for it. We got to do all that we can to be in front of Sony before they start because Sony had the best content on console. They had a subscription service that came out before Game Pass did, but Sony didn't fucking care. So when Microsoft started pushing, they were up 10 million people, and Sony still didn't give a fuck. But Sony had the content to compete. What Google didn't, what fucking Amazon didn't. So they had to buy people. And I'm like, it makes sense. All this makes sense, even though we kind of already knew, because all this news was already like a thing through all the fucking years. It's all coming together. Like we all see the whole broader plan that Microsoft had for Xbox because console gaming was failing so hard. Maybe because I've been a part of Xbox a long time, like internally, kind of, doing my thing, that I kind of like, we kind of already knew all this. But Sony not taking the bait and not competing in this, now it makes Microsoft look like an aggressive company because they're trying to buy all the things. But at the time, people got to think, this is retrospect. At the time, Microsoft had nothing. They had to come back from literally zero because they're getting their ass stumped out by Sony Interactive Entertainment. So they're trying to buy Sony out of business. I don't think that's what they were trying to do. Like I said, I think I said in some videos back then, Microsoft was trying to build a web of gaming so fucking big that when Sony thought about expanding their network, they were too late. And that's what Microsoft is still doing to this day. They wanted to grow Xbox so fucking big outside of consoles. So when Sony tried to step outside of consoles, they were running into Microsoft webs because Microsoft's already there. Microsoft's already in the cloud. Microsoft's already on fucking mobile. Microsoft already on PC. So Sony's just starting to do this stuff. They're starting to dabble in this, and Microsoft's already there. In those spaces, Microsoft are going to be winning for a while because Sony still has to bolster their studios up to compete on that type of thing. And that's why Sony ports come out and they're completely fucking busted because they don't make PC games. They make PlayStation games. Now they have to relearn how to develop for everybody else. And it's one of those things that like, we see the fruits of Microsoft's labor and court is still going to be crazy. So, I mean, there's still plenty of court to go. We don't know what's happening. Microsoft's looking good at the moment, but things can turn. We don't know. Judge can sway anyway. So we just got to wait and see. But let me know what y'all think down below. Make sure that like button, subscribe. I'm going to stay updated on this. I'm going to try to keep y'all updated on this. And I'm going to keep playing games. So I'm going to see y'all in the next video.